Hello everybody and welcome to the third round of the Roasted Record Sportscar Challenge by Bike Point Racing, live from Mexico City here tonight for the third round of this championship. It is myself, Ian Lillery, and Tristan Herbst bringing you commentary with Jim Cunningham behind the cameras of this Motormouth broadcast indeed here tonight. Hour-long races continue here in this series before we go to our first 90-minute endurance race, first of two at Road America coming up next week, but this is just on the hour, and LMP2s have just made their way out to begin their qualifying session. Overall, 37 cars should qualify for this race tonight. Tristan, good to be alongside you. This is one of iRacing's newest offerings at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez in Mexico. Way high in the air, over 2,000 meters high in the air. Air is very thin up here, and that changes all sorts of things, from fuel consumption to slipstream having less of an effect, but so does dirty air as well through this S's section. And it's a rather unique layout as well, which has changed since the 80s and 90s and so on, when this circuit was last used for things like Formula 1 and so on. It's returned these days with a stadium section and all sorts. A very interesting place to take us for round three.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great track as well for GT3 and LMP2 racing. I've done a couple of races already so far here in the GT class, and I've got to say it is one of those tracks that does provide the action. And I mean, like we mentioned, we're heading over here with a 1 hour long race, and so we're going to be provided with plenty of action here in tonight as we finish off this qualifying session with about 2 or so minutes left. But indeed, the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez, and I mean, if you are a motorsports fan, you will recognize this track from the top of the chain Sport Formula 1, but we're here in the multi-class of GT3 and LMP2, which will also provide nearly as much entertainment as Formula 1, probably even more, just due to the sheer grid size. But we've got some points to display for you, and that's our championship standings going into round number 3 after the past 2 rounds. Here we can see we've got the LMP2 class. It is Mauro Santa Maria who sits in P1 with a 53-point lead. Scott Maury sits in second with a 40-point lead, and Alan Aguilar in third with a 36-point lead. It then goes to Adrian Puebla, Edwin Hendricks, David Turnbull, Justin Bach will take 7th with Justin Negrete in 8th, Jacob Sheridan in 9th, and Brandon Herzing in 10th. And then Ewan will take you through the other ones.
Sorry to interrupt you. These are last week's points, so these are before the last round at Long Beach. So I will hold off on going through them all because there are some ones that are better up to date than this. We'll get the second round points up in a second to do them properly. 1 minute to go in qualifying. I will just tell you about qualifying as we take some shots from the air here. Edwin Hendricks currently has the best time. Justin Negrete was faster than his previous best last time round. I wonder whether he can do the same again. No, not quite. So stays in second. Justin Bott moves up to 4th behind Blake Ward for the moment. So we'll go through the grid at the end of this session as well. But as you say, this circuit has gone through lots of layout changes down the years. Actually, not so many compared to some other racetracks of the world that have been around since 1959, as this venue has. The final corner, which is more akin to an oval circuit, which does still exist, is certainly removed. And the stadium section is now in place, was put in place for the 2015 iteration of this venue, which took in Formula 1, of course, and eventually the World Endurance Championship as well, a year later. So it's much more modern affair these days, but as I mentioned, pretty unchanged really from 1959. At least that looks relatively similar, and it's hard to really put in perspective, but this circuit actually is right in the city. Mexico City is a huge place, so this doesn't really look like it's in a city, but not that far away from the centre, to be honest, out here. Hence why it qualifies as the round for Formula E when they go to Mexico. They just qualify as being in a city, even though this is not a street circuit. It is very much in town, so it does count for Formula E and that kind of thing. Hosted many big series down the years. Alan Aguilar goes to the second position later on in this session. That's 13 thousandths of a second behind the pole. He weaves across the line. That's the end of his session. But Edwin Hendricks looks like he's just about taken pole position. And there is our series leader, by the way. winner of the first 2 rounds of this championship. Indeed, pole sitter for the first 2 rounds of this championship. Not sure what's happened to him in this session because he is 2.5 seconds off the best time. That is highly, highly unexpected.
Yeah, definitely so. But we've seen this before at Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. If you've seen it in previous racing, it does tend to change things up a little bit. It's quite a complex circuit. It's got the nice straights, but it's also got quite a couple of corners and more technical layout sections that we'll see in a couple of minutes with the track map, and that does tend to play into all the different car types, which is exactly what we've got here in this kind of racing at White Point with the multi-class. But qualifying is officially over, and as Ewan mentioned, we will be getting that standings just after the qualifying session to see where all of our drivers sit for both the 2 physical classes, but the 3 classes overall of LMP2, GT3 Pro-Am, and GT3 Pro. Do believe we've got the updated points there. I believe those are updated. I think you would have a better picture of the updated points.
Yep, so these are the ones updated after the Long Beach round. Michael Anderson now the leader of the GT3 Pro Championship by 8 points over Austin Schildhauer. Then it's third place for Tyler Crowe with Sebastian Trullo, then Francis Crosby, then Zach Houston, who was race winner for one of the 2 races as well. But I don't think was at the other round. Indeed, wasn't. So is down in 6th as a result. Paul Baston that was only here for 1 race 2. Likewise, Matthew Miles and Jordan Butler as well. So that's why he's in 9th position in the current, or tied 9th position, I should say, in the championship standings. Zach Shepard is leading an exceptionally close GT3 Prime Championship. Top 4 covered by just 4 points. David Volpe only 1 point off the championship lead. Jason Holland only 2 off. Jeremiah Cohn is the driver 4 points off. Then a bit of a gap back to Jordan Cox. John Voigt is in 6th ahead of John Bostwick and John Pittenpole. Then Anthony Wells, 9th place, 14 points off the championship lead. And remarkable, really. Jed Cotterman rounds out the top 10. But you can be sure we'll have a part to play in the rest of this season, no doubt about that. And the LMP2 standings, these are updated after the previous round, but still show Mauro Santamaria at the front because he's won both races so far. Scott Murray, Alan Aguilar and David Turnbull have had pretty much the same results averaged out over those 2 races, so 2nd, 3rd and 4th for them. Edwin Hendricks, who's just taken pole for this race, is in 5th, with Justin Negret just behind. He's tied with Justin Bock for 6th, only a point ahead of Adrian Puebla, and then Brandon Hersing and Jacob Sheridan round out the top 10. So that is how we stand coming into this race at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. And let's have a look at the circuit in a little bit more detail. Here in Mexico, as you can see, right dead centre of the country, there is Mexico City. That's what I mean about it being in the city, by the way, despite the fact it doesn't look really like it when we're on the track cameras. We'll come down into it in a second to have a look in detail at some of these turns. And immediately noticeable, the front straight exceptionally long in towards turn number 1, passing by a baseball stadium on the right hand side, and braking late in the thin air for that first chicane, which is really all that makes up the first sector. A lot of straight line speed required, and it gets a little bit more technical in time for sector 2. The difficult slow speed bits 4, 5, 6 before the high speed S's, or medium speed S's you could say, between turns 7 and 11. You need a good run out of turn 11 though, because as you head towards the stadium section, there's a sharp 90-degree right-hander you can see there, and that leads you into the stadium section. Spectacular section it is. Nothing quite like it in motorsport. Very tight hairpin at turn 13 to come, where battles may continue on from turn 12 and then into that final corner. Sort of half of an oval turn, that final corner these days, and you can still see the outline, if you like, there of the old final corner. There it is, which used to be part of the oval track, and indeed still is the only part of this venue surviving since 1959. The rest of it going through small changes here and there in the layout, although, as I said earlier, it is generally recognisable from what we've seen in the past. And as I mentioned, not... oh dear, let's hope to see less of that over the course of tonight, shall we? That's first multi-class traffic incident of the day. You'll be pleased to know we're only in warm-up. But this circuit has seen multi-class racing in the past in the real world. Like I said, the World Endurance Championship has been here before. And I kind of feel this is not a bad circuit for multi-class racing, to be honest. It's a proper Grade 1 circuit, this, with, not exceptionally wide places, but, a little bit of tarmac runoff to survive in, but a punishing circuit and certainly places to overtake as well. So I think a nice multi-class circuit, but a bit of patience probably required through this section from those LMP2s as they're trying to get past the GT cars.
Yeah, and traffic management is going to be quite a crucial play in today's racing. It's obviously been the play over the past 2 rounds as well, but at a track at this scale, the LMP2s, especially on that back straight, are going to start to catch up quite drastically, and that lapping factor is going to come in quite early at this Mexico City Grand Prix track. It is indeed using the same layout that we do use for most of the other sports, and so calling it the Grand Prix layout is also the same as calling it its full name, which some people might find slightly complex, as it is a big 3-worder, but other than that, the racing is still absolutely spectacular. But indeed correct, going into turn number 1, let's hope we don't see that in the race, the little bit of multi-class contact, because that's, again, it's the management of the LMP2s, and it is indeed the job of the LMP2 to get around the GT3. It's not the job of the GT3 to try and make space. They're just continuing their race. You can see this LMP2, he has to just try and find a wide line and get past the GT3s who are dormant on track. And it does get quite hectic if there's a fight between GT3 cars. The LMP2 can't exactly just barge his way through. And he's sometimes going to be patient and, make it count when he decides to make that leap on the inside or the outside line. And if you've ever watched multi-class racing, it does get a little bit messy when there is lots of cars to play for. And as we see here on Bite Point, we're dealing with quite a large grid size with well over 30 cars here tonight. So the LMP2s really do have to be careful to avoid penalties, especially when it comes to lapping those GT3 cars. But we're officially done with our warm-up session and heading into that starting grid. And we'll see those gantry lights showing shortly. You can see the marshal waving the flag to call the end of the session. And then we officially head onto our starting grid, which is going to appear on your screen shortly. But there we see the LMP2s. The number 11 will start up in second. That's Alan Aguilar's. Edwin Hendricks hasn't popped up just yet.
He will get his way onto the grid in just a moment, but let's have a look at the starting grid then. Following through, Alan Aguilar will be on our right-hand side from second, and Edwin Hendricks will be on the pole in just a moment. He set the best lap time in that session, has already got points to his name tonight with that pole. Justin Negrete will be in third place ahead of Blake Ward, and those two sharing row 2. Then it's Justin Bock and Nicholas Seacrest. Bock currently 7th place in the championship standings. Harrison Holiday is in 7th in front of Roderick Mendoza. Both of those two, I believe, outside the top 10 in the standings. Indeed they are. Just, though, 11th to 12th. David Turnbull and Scott Murray will be 9th and 10th. They're both in the top 4 in the point standings, so a little bit further down for them. But row 6 is the big surprise. Jacob Sheridan on the right-hand side, but Mauro Santa Maria, the 2-time race winner from the first 2 rounds, is indeed in last position to begin this, well, not last position, sorry, but he's a long way back. There are a few more behind him indeed. Dax Brown, Brandon Herzing are 2 of them, and Gregory Lawrence is the last of them. Paul Passon is on the pole in the GT3 class. Don't forget, these guys could be mixed together over the course of the day, pro and pro-ams, as they qualify. Francis Crosby will be in second in front of John Voigt, who has taken the pole in Pro-Am. So you can immediately see what I mean. We had this a lot last week, actually, mixing at Long Beach. Zach Houston back again, thankfully, after missing a round. David Volpe is then in 20th place. Just into the second half of the field here, Michael Anderson, currently the championship leader in the Pro class. Then it's Wyatt Smith alongside, I think, a newcomer for this round, Zach Shepard and Jordan Butler. And then on row 12 with the next one, John Bostwick and Brian Labresa. Row 13. Jeremiah Conan, Blake Petenpole are on row 14. Before we get to Martin Lipsky, who's making his debut this season, and Lorenzo Arillo, who rounds out the top 30 as well. Austin Schildhaus, the last of the pros, so everybody below him is a Pro-Am. Jason Holland, the first of them. Holland, for reference, is 9th in class. Running at the top 10 in that class, Jordan Cox with Anthony Wells alongside. Porsche versus Corvette. Then it's Timothy Schaefer and Thomas Mulder, who are on row 18. And bringing up the rear, it's Aaron Sanford on row 19 on his own down there in 37th. It's a packed grid once again here, Tristan, and looking forward to getting this race underway in a moment with a double foul start on him. That huge run down in towards turn 1.
Yeah, and that run into turn 1, the drivers really have to be patient because, like the famous quote line we mentioned at the Monaco Grand Prix, is no heroics into turn number 1, and it should be stipulated that that is echoed across all circuits, especially in circuits with a tight turn 1, and Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez is indeed one of those circuits where turn number 1 does compress quite hectically, and that concertina effect comes into play. Very, very fast and apparent. So the LMP2s will thankfully be starting ahead of the GT3s. We won't be seeing any compression from their side. The GT3s will be on the backside of them going into turn number 1, but as they go through the first sector, they will start to pull away with the performance difference between the two car classes. So coming down towards that starting line, the gantry lights are at the top of your screen, and they're about to signal for green to get us started for this race. It is indeed Edwin Hendricks up in front. The championship leader has got a little bit of problems on his hand. He's down in 11th position, and he's got a lot to work for today. But let's see how it goes. It's a great pull away from Hendricks. He's completely pulled the grid by size, and Aguilar has to try and keep on the backside. He's already got Justin Negret looking all over the rear of his LMP2 down into turn number 1. There's already defensive strategies coming, and you can see the cars pulling left and right, going too wide. And it's going to be a dive almost for Justin Negret. He's looking for it, but it looks like he's not going to get it just in that final spot. And he's actually gone off slightly. He's going to lose another position on the outside there to Roderick Mendoza from trying to dive on the outside there of Alan Aguilar.
It's going to cost him a lot now. Negret is going to drop a long way back. This is the start in GT3. Paul Basson at the front is going to be challenged all the way into turn 1 by Francis Crosby, but shuts the door just in time. See if they get through all cleanly here. Oh, no, they don't. Trouble on the outside there. It's John Bostwick in the McLaren who's gone off for a spin there. Coming off the right-hand side of turn 1. Wonder whether the Lamborghini that started alongside of Brian Lavresa was involved in that, maybe. There's a bit of a gap in front of where they were in the GT3 order. So that might have played a role there. But let's wait and see. Out front, though, Edwin Hendricks leads the race. We have indeed got a caution at the beginning of this race, just as we had at the beginning of Laguna Seca, in case you haven't been with us since then. Oh, right. Well, this might be explains something as well. Justin Bock going straight across that first chicane through 4 and 5. Oh, dear. What's he doing here? Doesn't want to rejoin at all. And now he gets back on. That'll be quite a slowdown for him to serve in the next few moments. But yes, he will drop down only to 6th because the caution came out at the right time for him. This is what happened to John Bostwick, meantime, in the replay.
Oh, it's just a slight pit maneuver, like just a bit of a nose wrapping, and unfortunately that would be classified as a standard racing incident. It is lap 1, turn 1, and we do tend to see those kind of things as the cars begin to compress through the first chicane. And very unfortunate for John Bostwick, but the good news is he didn't land up in a wall. Maybe a little bit of rear right damage to the body. I don't think that would have caused any form of suspension damage on that McLaren, so he should be good to continue going. But we do still have full course yellows around, and the cars are not allowed to overtake each other for the time being until that flag is being cleared. But Paul Basson still holding first for the GT3 Pros and GT3 overall. It's actually pace car out up in front, holding the LMP2s now. And so this is going to be the apparent standing for now. And we'll have to wait to see when the safety car pulls in. The drivers will do their utmost best to keep those tires nice and warm, especially those LMP2s. Remember, the biggest factor of that LMP2 car is that there is no ABS compared to what the GT3s have got. So they do have to worry about brake temperature and keeping everything nice and warm and race optimized. Otherwise, turn 1 can look a little bit disastrous. And trust me, I've experienced it before. Cold brakes on an LMP2 is quite a scary factor, especially at turn 1, like the first turn of Mexico.
While we're under caution, we'll just say a quick thanks to the sponsors who make this series and indeed these broadcasts of it possible. This is, of course, the Roasted Record Sportscar Challenge by Bike Point Racing. Thanks to Roasted Record for getting on board with the series, indeed, for the season. And a big thanks, of course, to the digital race engineer as well for being along with us here at Motorsport Broadcasting with all these series that we broadcast pretty much every night now. I'm not sure if if Jim has a night off these days. I don't think so. No, not enough, he says. But yeah, big thanks to both of them, Roasted Record and Digital Race Energy, for coming on board indeed in this series. And with us at Motormouth Broadcasting here, bringing you this series for Bike Point Racing Sports Car Challenge, as it was. Now the Roasted Record Sports Car Challenge. It's good to have you along. We're racing pretty much every week, by the way, till April the 3rd. You have quite a few weeks off, especially when there's racing special events around, like for the Sebring 12 Hour, because this is late on a Friday after all. If the guys are wanting to do the main top split that starts at midday-ish GMT, then it does. It's quite a quick turnaround, so we don't race on racing special event days. The next week off, though, is on February 20th. So 3 weeks of racing, or 4 weeks of racing rather, back to back, and another 2 after this one coming up. Road America for an hour and a half race next week. Indianapolis back to the hour-long races the week after that. So yeah, good to have these weeks of racing strung together, all taking place in North America, bar the Interlagos race, which is on March the 6th in this calendar. A couple of pit stops happening further back, and I think a couple of guys get penalties for this as well. Jeremiah Cohn and Anthony Wells into the pit lane. Jeremiah Cohn, by the way, was the one who made contact with that McLaren that spun around on the opening lap of John Boswick, who's now down to 10th because of those pit stops.
Yeah, I'm wondering where the black flag penalties are coming from. I don't know if that was possibly speeding into the pit lane or some other factor that's introduced that into the equation. But rather unfortunate for those drivers. I'm not too sure if it's a strategy game, maybe looking to get their pit stops done early on in this race. Then they've got the rest of the race to just put their head down and focus up. But I do agree, next round, we're heading into a 90-minute race. That's really nice to see the differentiation of times and durations, as it allows the drivers to expand their wings a bit, especially in these two classes. Endurance racing is indeed quite nice in these two car classes. They are kind of built, I'd say, for longer races. So to see them in an hour and a half format is quite nice. But this will be the only caution in today's racing. After that, there will be no more safety car being deployed. So if you do like the safety car, this is your last chance to have a glance at it. There you see it, the Porsche up nice in front, but there will still be the other Porsches of the GT3s out on track, just not with sirens and lights all over it. But hopefully we do see it coming into this lap, as the drivers, as you can see, have been trying to keep that car nice and warm. I believe for Edwin Hendricks, he's probably tired right now of flicking left and right and left and right and trying to keep that LMP2 optimal going into turn number 1. And let's see if he can get the same pull-off on Aguilar that we saw at the start of this race. Yeah, let's see. See, it's obviously different to the start of the race, given that it's not a double file start. See a GT3 making its way along the front straight at the moment. Timothy Schaefer a long way down the back of the field. Had to start from the pit lane and is not going to get round to this field indeed in time, actually, even with the GT3s just hanging off the back of those LMP2s who are a little bit further out front. As you say, this will be the only safety car of the day. We have actually increased the amount of incidents there have to be in one go in a period of time to actually trigger a safety car. So must have been a lot of contact and a lot of things going on there through GT3 and LMP2 off of that start for us to see the third safety car indeed of the season, interrupting the second race this season. Here we go then. Some guys in the background trying to get the jump, and they're going to all have to stand on the brakes there as he waits quite a long time. Does Edwin Hendricks getting underway side by side immediately between Justin Negret and Justin Bock, both of whom went backwards on the initial race start. Bock blowing through the turn 4-5 chicane, Negret going backwards out of turn 3 in the opening lap. Down on the brakes they go. It is okay in towards turn 1 this time round for those LMP2s. We did see a couple of off-track excursions first time round, but not second time round. Hendricks getting off to a good start and nice and orderly in GT3 as well. Much different to the early start of the race, because it is so congested when they started this race 8 minutes ago. Yeah, especially when you're too wide, that concertina effect is a lot more emphasized. But yeah, with single file racing, just after the safety car restart, I think the drivers are a little bit more cautious as well. They know that the race has already started, and having yet another incident like they would have had in turn number 1 is just going to drive them further down the grid order. And that clock is not going to stop ticking. That's the issue with having a spin during a live race, is that clock is not going to wait for you. You're going to have to get in that pit lane, and you're going to lose a whole lot of track time. But We move back up to second, and Aguilar has yet again lost the runoff to Hendricks. 1.4 seconds of a gap now, and Hendricks was able to catch him slightly on that back straight, like Ewan says. He had quite a late pull-off, and a couple of drivers behind were actually caught off guard and had to slam on the brakes. They thought that he was ready to go. There's someone off. And it's Justin Bock. He's lost it coming into the Al Stadium section, Al Stado, unfortunately. And that's the second incident today. He's already had an off-track once. We'll try and get a replay there of what happened. And I believe that's just under the braking issue. I believe so in the LMP2. And yeah, indeed it is just under the brakes, trying to wrap the car around. And that's just not going to cut it in the LMP2.
Mauro Santamaria was the one who was directly behind, and there were fears initially that he was involved, but he just about managed to avoid. This is trouble for Timothy Schaefer again, who's clearly got something going wrong here. He had to start from the pit lane earlier on, and he's already dropped a couple of laps. He is not seemingly comfortable with something technical, maybe, or something with iRacing, not entirely sure, but he's not happy down the back end of the field. Meantime, side by side in LMP2, I think it was Sheridan got past Justin Negrete, who's still going backwards here on this start. Both Justin Negrete and Justin Bock having trouble on this start and dropping backwards. And there's more trouble. Negrete on the power, nearly going into a spin.
Yeah, that was a close one. It was a good catch from him, but again, the LMP2 on corner exit just trying to show its flames. And the biggest thing, especially with these cars, especially because of the brake locking, if that is the reason you lost the car, is that it does increase those tire temps rapidly. And I've got to say, in this car, especially because of the load, the high amount of downforce, this is another incident. I'll get back to that shortly. This is with the GT3 class, and a bit of a side swipe there from Jeremiah Cohn coming out of the stadium section. And again, under braking, just coming in with too much speed and losing the rear, wrapping it sideways into another driver. Very unfortunate to see that. But biggest thing with the LMP2s, as I was mentioning, with those high downforce, if you do spin, those tires at the back especially get extremely hot, and it is difficult to cool them down. So once you do have a spin, especially for the likes of Justin Bock, it is quite a bit of a journey to get those tires cooled down again. You have to watch out what you do under braking, and otherwise you will end up the exact same as you did before.
Early in the race still. Now remember that we are a very long way off the ground up here in Mexico City, very elevated in terms of its altitude. Need to get the exact figures on how high off the ground it is. I think it's over 2,000, 2,200 meters. There you go, which is over 7,000 feet for those of you who use the wrong units in America. So they freedom units, I'm told. So yeah, there you go. 7,000 feet. What does that mean? How much a feet? Anyway, meantime, Crosby and Basson go side by side. My feet aren't 12 inches long, that's for sure.
Mine neither.
Side by side. That's why it doesn't make sense. Anyway, Baston loses the lead to Francis Crosby in the meantime. This is GT3 Pro honours, and of course overall in GT3, Zach Houston, who won already, who has won already in this race, I should say, in this season, I should say, trying to get past Baston as well, but couldn't quite follow through. We do have a new leader though in the form of Francis Crosby.
Yeah, it's a great move up. We didn't exactly see his position change, but he's been able to keep it quite ahead now, and he hasn't seemed to have lost it from the likes of Basson. Again, he's going to be chasing behind to try and get that P1 back overall for GT3 and also GT3 Pro class. But the Mercedes up in front will have that speed advantage on the back straight, and that might even be where the overtake was made down into turn number 1. The Mercedes with the big V8 engine up in front, possibly a bit better slipstream and possible dive up onto the inside line. It's nice to see the Acuras also out there down in 4th and 5th there of Anderson and obviously the likes of Voigt in first of GT3 Pro-Am, which is great to see. There's Michael Anderson coming into that stadium section. It's always great to see the driver cams. You can see the focus levels are definitely there, especially on the curbing of the stadium section. I don't know if you've watched much of the GT3 racing at the circuit, whether it's real life or virtual, but those curbs at the stadium section can be punishing on these lower ride height cars. It can chuck the car off. Here we have John Voigt. He's fully immersed right now. I'm pretty sure he can feel that altitude change through those VR glasses. So, but I mean, great stuff from all the drivers still. So currently first for GT3 Pro of John Voigt. He's fighting with all the pros, and let's hope he can maintain that position. But the traffic is officially starting.
Well, one of them is, yes. It's a bit of a starter, if you like. And indeed, not much actually, because the lap car indeed just decides to stay well out the way anyway. But look at the pressure Edwin Hendricks is under now. Alan Aguilar right in behind at the moment. And this is a marked change to the initial start of this race, where Hendricks was able to get away quite nicely. Suddenly, Aguilar is really putting the pressure on here for the lead. Nearly a quarter of an hour done, and this is close for the race lead.
Yeah, Aguilar changed it up completely. He was quite off pace compared to the likes of Hendricks. I wonder if he made a slight error somewhere. That gap was about 1.4, 1.5 seconds. It's now down to 5/10 on the back straight. So let's see what Aguilar can do. He is slightly gaining. No, actually, he's losing slightly. So he's out of the slipstream for now of the LMP2s, but he does have that second place where he can fight up in front. Obviously, it's always that stigma of being in first position. There's nothing technically to chase, and so you don't actually render the fastest lap times you possibly can. So we'll see if Aguilar can catch up. Yeah, we have Justin Agret. He's a little bit further behind. 8 positions down, unfortunately, after having an unfortunate start, and he's down chasing onto the backside. Here's a three-way battle between Dax Brown, Negret, and Turnbull as they come through and end sector number 1. Through sector 2 they will now go, and for the LMP2s it's looking pretty even. It's the big American flag. I wonder if he's American. I'm not sure. I don't know if the car hints it enough, but through the next sections they go, and it still remains Turnbull up in front.
It's the Australian flag, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, it shouldn't insult really, but anyway. Side by side, meantime, John Voigt is side by side. That's Michael Anderson, I think, trying to get past there. Oh, and immediately he made the move nicely, but he's immediately gone off, and that's not going to be pleasing to Voigt at all, because after all, these guys aren't fighting for points on the same scale. They are separate in GT3 Pro and Pro-Am, and effectively all that's done is brought Voigt closer to the likes of David Volpe, who's leading the charge behind in Pro-Am, and the even worse part, Michael Anderson still hasn't got past him, so he's still got that to deal with in the next few laps.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he's going to achieve that in the next few laps. And these guys, they currently race twice a week, the ones that are battling for position together. So we'll see what Voigt can do. Didn't we mention in Laguna this guy should be in the pro class? I think in Laguna he had some rapid pace, and here he is again. I mean, right in the middle of that GT3 Pro class, and 1.2 seconds ahead of Volpe in second for GT3 Pro-Am. So at least it's not too big of a distance. Jim in the background saying it's that VR headset. I think he's got some speed juice in there. It is after all Roasted Record. So there's a coffee canister hiding somewhere, I bet you. So we'll see what Voigt can do. Sitting in first position still. And looks like Pittenpool. Blake a little bit further behind. Has had a bit of an error in his Porsche. Oh, he did catch it slightly. And then he lost it a bit, but fortunately no wall damage. There's a bit of a further angle. He has a better replay. This is actually it's a different car, so it's second car now to make a bit of an error there on the exit of stadium.
So careful. You don't want to be only just off. There we go. You don't want to be only just off the racing line there, because if somebody even goes slightly wide accidentally, they'll hit you. So thankfully he reversed out the way there, did Houston. I've got to say, that spin for Pittenpool was very Porsche. That just looked like it was completely out of control through a medium speed corner. This is actually Wells, who's already had a spin through the final section, and that's the McLaren he had it with. Now he's spun in front of Jeremiah Cohn, who's had to come to a stop to avoid him. Those two are not having the best race. They are currently 10th and 11th in the Prime class. They're more than half a minute off of the leading GT3 car, which is Francis Crosby. That puts them still over half a minute behind, about 32 seconds behind John Boyd, who's leading their class. They are a very long way off the lead.
We've got to start taking polls here tonight of how many names that stadium section is going to take. I've counted 4 already, and we're only 17 minutes into this race. I did say the curbs are quite menacing, and it seems like the exit out of the stadium section, the final corner of the track, is also proving quite hard. Negret looking up on the inside of Dax Brown. Is it going to be an overtake? And it is indeed. Great jump onto the inside there on turn number 1. And Dax Brown now in the All-American LMP2 is going to try and look for a way to get back, but he is struggling slightly on the exit of that sector. And Negret has been able to pull a slight bit of a gap now. So he's got a bit of an advantage. He's going to be chasing onto Turnbull now up in front for the number 66. And let's see what he can do into the next couple of sections. It's all going to come down to the better braker. Who can manage those non-ABS brakes in the LMP2s? Remember, one error could cost you your entire race. And that is the special part about the LMP2 class and why it is such a non-boring class to race if you ever have done it. It does require a lot of focus to keep you 100% in this race. I've got to say it's a lot of fun. Some might not find it fun. Some might find it scary and exhilarating. But I've got to say, once you eventually get a hold of it, it's like riding a big bull.
Well, yeah, it's certainly different to the GT3s. It's good to have the choice. Still racing the series, whether you want one or the other. Down into the 4-5 chicane here for these two again. David Volper now has got a choice to make, really. Does he now try and aim to get past Michael Anderson and try and push on for the lead of the class from Voigt, or is he going to stay behind him and hope that Anderson can do the closing of the gap behind? Anderson has, or indeed, Volpe has got Wyatt Smith directly behind. So that is, of course, everybody promoted a place with Zach Houston's dropping down, but Wyatt Smith also got a decision to make here. And what he decides to do about that Mustang, he's gone a little bit wide, to be fair, though, there, and through the chicanes, through the S's, and that will just drop him a second or so back. It's a very, very tricky section of corners, and that's shown there. If you get the first part wrong, then it does throw you off for the next run of corners as well.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah, it's a very flowing circuit. It's not an abruptly stopped circuit where a chicane can take you down to like 60 or 80 kilometers. There isn't necessarily any hairpins of such. Maybe you can call it a slight hairpin there at the stadium section, but it still flows into the next corner. Oh, there's contact. David Turnbull and Justin Negrete, and I saw it coming there at the end of sector 2, just a little bit too tight through that corner, and Turnbull will actually have no consequence to that other than a slight tap on the rear, but Negrete has completely lost the car. He's lost out to Sheridan and another one of the LMP2s, so very unfortunate there for the FTS Racing. That's Justin Bock, who's also gotten ahead of him, so we'll have to try and see a bit of a replay there as to if that was a bit of a courageous dive or if that was just the gap closing. So here it is. It's coming through that right-hander. And I mean, I would say he had somewhat of space. I think the gap closed on him slightly, but that's up to the stewards. Very unfortunate there for the FTS Racing driver. Thankfully, not too much damage that prevents him from continuing in this race.
Yeah, I think he was entitled to go for a dive down the inside, but I don't think it's... Oh, dear, that's got to be an off-track, hasn't it? Justin Bock there, off the circuit. But I think he was entitled to go for it down the inside, but I don't think there's any case to answer there as far as a penalty is concerned, personally, for that incident. But we'll wait and see. Traffic then, just over 20 minutes into this race, obviously delayed by about 5-10 minutes. Because of the safety car, and look at the trouble it's already causing. Alan Aguilar there getting past Wells, and meantime, not in traffic, but the GT3 Pro lead has just changed there, with Crosby getting in front of Basson. So, that, or rather staying in front. Basson has been overtaken already in this race, and Francis Crosby is having to hang on to the race lead here. They've no longer got the train of GT3s directly behind them like they did earlier, but they are still in a fight. There's no doubt about that. Out of the pit lane, indeed, for one of the Porsches there just in front of them. They will get into the background of this battle now as Basson tries to get close in towards turn 1. The Porsche without the legs on the straight to get anywhere there.
Yeah, I was just about to mention it. You could see it on the timings tower. Oh, that Porsche just went out. He's all good. He did go extremely wide into turn number 1, but he kept it on circuit. But the Porsche just not able to compete with the Mercedes whatsoever on the straight. I mean, you could see it. Basson actually had the slipstream there, and he was losing time to the Mercedes on that back straight. If it was the other way around, unfortunately, that's an easy dive for the Mercedes driver of Crosby. So Basson's got to work really hard in the mid sectors, but the Porsche's got better rotation compared to that Merc. It's understeer versus oversteer central area. It's front versus rear drive. Front versus rear engine, not drive, as they continue now through that mid sector. And let's see, can Basson keep himself on those rails? Zach Houston down in 5th position currently for that pro class, and he's on the backside of Butler, the Lightning McQueen, number 95. Is his number 95? If he's not, I'm going to be angry. No, it is 95. He's fully immersed here today at Mexico, which is great to see for the Ferrari driver.
Yep, there we go. Talking last night about the annoyance of people who don't have the same number as what they do actually in the liveries. But yeah, I'm glad to see he's done it properly. Jordan Butler, he's holding on as well from Zach Houston in towards the end of another lap. The flag next to his name suggests that he's British. I'm not sure whether he still lives here or not, but if he does, then it's 3 in the morning. Clearly that's not phasing him for the moment. It is a Friday night, to be fair, but even so, Butler under pressure from one of the fastest drivers in the series in the case of Zach Houston, but The problem for Houston is, again, the problem that all the Porsche drivers are facing. It's the lack of straight line speed, which at this venue with very little slipstreaming and a big long straight here to begin with, and quite a long one towards turn 4 as well. That makes life very, very tricky.
Yeah, through turn 1 they'll go, and again you can see the Porsche just not having the legs on the backside of that Ferrari up in front. But he has Brian Lavrisa. He's still in 6th position. We did mention he could have possibly been involved in that turn 1 incident. We did look into it. I don't think he was, but now currently tailing in 6th. Yeah, he wasn't involved. Currently down 1 position, chasing onto the backside now of the likes of John Boswick. He's just up ahead in 5th. Both of them 1 position down, but they'll continue to push on for the remainder of this race. Here's the LMP2s. They are fighting. This is the battle for 5th as they try and navigate traffic. Is it a dive up on the inside through traffic? And it's Mario Santamaria, the current championship standings leader. What a great dive for the number 8. And I've got to say, a clean and precise overtake on the inside.
7 places gained so far on the day for Mauro Santamaria, and he's into the top 5. It looks like his run of race victories might well come to an end tonight, unless he can pull something very, very special out the bag. But he's making progress through the field, and it's good to see. I think it must just, as Jeremiah Cohn slows down here to let them through, I think it's not a deficiency in terms of pace for Santamaria, which is good. I think it's probably just a couldn't get it together in qualifying sort of scenario, because what we're seeing at the moment in this race is just classic what we've seen from Santamaria so far this season. So I don't think there's anything wrong with his speed, just maybe couldn't get it together in qualifying.
It's always a scary thing when you see a driver blip, because you don't know if they're going to come back or not, but fortunately for him, he seems to be pinging back about 250 milliseconds afterwards. So thankfully it's not a hectic netcode issue, then he'll remain in. Bostwick's into the pit lane though for the GT3 Pro class. I wonder if that's an early strategy to get the undercut. He has the 95 of Lighty McQueen throwing a Kachow onto the inside line. It's not going to be any form of position overtake. That Porsche livery is absolutely insane up in front. I can't even calculate what on earth is going on there. There's so much all over that thing. It's pretty cool though, I can't lie to you. But currently Houston with Schildauer behind. That's I believe that might be one of the GT3 Pro-Am drivers, because it's a different Porsche. I'm not exactly sure who that is, but it is currently a 3-way battle between them.
Yeah, not sure. Or it is Arujo who's being lapped here, is it? In that livery. Not entirely sure for the moment. It is. It's Lorenzo Arujo. But they're right. There is a lot going on that car, that's for sure. Going a lap down, though, is Arujo. Has already been in pit lane, though, so it might well be able to come back a little bit later with a result. But Butler is hanging on. He's on a different line through the S's here compared to Houston, which is going to make life difficult when they get to turn 12. But he's fended him off last lap on the way down here. He's just going to do it all over again by looks of things. And Butler continues to frustrate Zach Houston here for 4th position.
Every single time Jordan Butler comes past the camera, he's literally throwing a Kachow. I mean, we just got to see his front left or front right light just turn on as soon as the camera comes past, and then we'd be fully immersed in the cars industry. But it's still great to see him. He's still holding up in front, up in 4th, as the likes of the driver behind him, Zach Houston, has been fighting for quite some time, but he has again the battle for 1st, and Francis Cosby is still holding off against Baston. I think overall he's got the benefit of the doubt here. I think the Merc will be slightly stronger overall on track compared to the Porsche. We don't have the tightest corners or the fastest corners here with the Porsche would be advantageous. As I say, it's a dive up on the inside for Baston, and he moves up yet again, but the Merc is going to go for the switchback on the outside. He's going to get blocked off though, and it's going to be Baston from the 411 who holds that P1 position. And that's always what happens with commentating. You literally... You mentioned something, and then the complete opposite happens on track. But Crosby down to 2nd and Basson back up to 1st.
Yeah, they've exchanged a couple of times now in the last half an hour, but Crosby's still smiling, or was when they lost the position anyway. Enjoying the fight at the moment between these two, and they're both pushing one another very hard through the S's. Saw the way they were only just within the bounds of the track there at the end of the S's there. This is quite a group from 7th place on backwards now, with Dax Brown in 7th, then following Jacob Sheridan up 3 places so far, but up more compared to the opening laps of the race. Justin Book and Justin Negret as well have both had trouble throughout this race involved in this group as well. And overall, by the way, Alan Aguilar has caught up to to Edwin Hendricks. They're not yet the whole way through traffic for the first time here tonight. And generally, it's the GT3 field just get a little bit spread out before they get there. So they can pick them off one by one. Meantime, Santa Maria gets another place. No, Nicholas Sickrest gets that all wrong though into turn 12. He brakes too late, and Santa Maria gets both places as Blake Ward was pushed wide. Santa Maria gets up into third position now in this race.
Yeah, I mean, they maintained that one pretty well. That could have been way worse. It was great from Nicholas Sickrest to keep it straight and go off of the track instead of trying to make the corner. Otherwise, we might have had a three-way spin around there for the LMP2s. Great management, and that just shows the professionalism of driving. But between the three of them, you can see how close it is. Coming into that stadium section, as well as managing that HP BMW on the inside line, and just too late on the brakes, like Ewan mentioned, and not enough time to react. But he did the right thing of going off track. You could see he did not have intentions to make that corner. He took it off, and Santa Maria also held the inside line. He saw it was coming in the mirrors and decided, okay, cool, let's keep it nice and balanced. Let's not try and go courageous here on the inside. And that's how you keep all three cars alive on track with minimal body damage.
Meantime, they've dropped Sickrest after that moment, and Santa Maria is able to consolidate this third place. Now, we, as I'm saying, this literally tick over the halfway mark of this race. Do you wonder, considering we've got 30 minutes of green flag racing coming up, because we've lost a few minutes of green flag racing at the beginning, lost a couple of laps, but Santa Maria is only 7.5 seconds behind these two. You wonder how close he might be able to get in as far as winning this race is concerned. Is he going to be able to get all the way there? Well, if these two actually fight with one another very hard, then his chances of that definitely increase.
100% so, and as you can see, the two of them, they are, it's also not just small petty fighting, it's proper fighting for the lead of the race here. And look at that gap already. It's already down to 7.3, so 2/10 down on those the battle for first and second currently. So the top two here do have to worry that the more they battle, they are going to turn it into a three-way fight with the current championship leader, who is hungry to get back up into first. So Alan Aguilar, the likes of Hendricks up in first. What's it going to be? They do need to watch out for each other. And the last thing they do want to do is cause an incident that takes them both out of the running for the lead of the LMP2 class. But through the sections they go, you can see Alan Aguilar is hugging on the backside of that blue LMP2. Even with the traffic management, there's Lorenzo up in front in his full Red Bull livery, and they're going to try and manage him through the next couple of corners. Let's hope they can both get cleanly past. But coming to the end of the corner, he's holding the outside line. Alan Aguilar will take the inside. And it looks like they've both gotten by quite cleanly. It's a yellow flag there for Houston. That's a slowdown he's going to have to serve. And so that means he's currently actually ahead of Butler. So I wonder if that was the dive and a bit of a penalty. But he's going to have to possibly concede that. And it's actually a 1 second gap between the two. So no conceding there. But he did lose a little bit of time.
Yeah, indeed. They're still following each other mightily closely, these two. At the front, these guys are pretty close as well. Mendoza has joined them to maintain a trio. Well, Santa Maria's gone the other way and gone up the road. Through the S's they come, and the Aston Martin up in front again. See whether we see Schaefer get out the way again here. It doesn't have to, of course, but has been so far, considering he's a couple of laps down already and just running around effectively to complete this race. Shepard, meantime, comes in from third in Pro-Am, and Aguilar from second in LMP2. So interesting that stops are happening on the halfway mark here for some of these guys, and interesting to see how long Hendricks waits to respond to that now in the overall race lead.
And there's Santa Maria now up at the second with that pit stop from Aguilar. And I did want to mention that the pit stops is also going to change how this race happens, because the strategies is definitely a key factor here in terms of where you finish this race. Also depending on your pit stop time, the time and distance where you activate your speed limiter. Some drivers tend to take it more cautious and activate it slightly sooner and don't actually realize how much time they lose by doing that, especially if it's in a battle of a couple of tenths difference. If you do just put on that limiter slightly too early, you're losing quite a lot of time that you might not realize. Gregory Lawrence moves up into ninth as he's staying out with the rest of the pack. Herzing moves into the pit lane now, and so we'll drop down from ninth all the way to the backside. So we'll have to see what Gregory Lawrence can do down in ninth position. A couple of the cars are coming in to serve that pit stop at the halfway mark. And so I would say it's a pretty reasonable time to come into the pit lane. A couple of them are keeping it for the overcut. And so I guess we'll have to see which strategy is going to work better.
Yeah, we will indeed. for the majority of cars to not have to come into pit lane. Not too many battles out there up and down the racetrack now. Justin Bock not that far behind Dax Brown for 6th position in the race, and just as I said that, actually, Volper's got quite close to somebody else in GT3. That's Michael Anderson, though he's close behind. Not necessarily anybody for his class position. So Volper's still trying to get close to John Voigt somehow here. Difficult to do that when there's other GT3 pros in the way of that happening. Meantime, Basson has gone off the road. Basson has had trouble here from the leading GT3 pro. We'll have a look at what happened to him. He was with an LMP2 who gets straight into him. We'll see it from another angle to try and decide who's maybe at fault for that, but it's the GT3 pro leader who's sent into a spin and drops down from first.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and that LMP2, I think, took a bit of an aggressive line on the inside there and kind of pointed outwards when the corner was facing quite left. So very unfortunate for Paul Basson. That knocks him out of the running for the time being of the lead of that race, and he's going to have to work hard to get back up. A key feature, though, on this red LMP2, which most won't notice, is a small little logo on that back, I guess you can call it a wing, the piece that connects the cockpit to the spoiler. It's a small blue logo, and if you're a true fan, you'll know the Van Halen logo on the back. And I got to say, Lawrence is just trying to jump up that grid, and Eddie Van Halen's guitar is actually painted on the car. So if you are a true fan of Van Halen and you like to jump like they jump around track, well then great stuff for you, and great scheme as well there from Gregory Lawrence in 9th. And 6 positions up, he definitely has made the jump. Okay, cool, I'm done with the references. We can move on now. Let's continue the racing action for the time being. Hendricks, 6.2 seconds to Santa Maria. He is catching lap by lap.
Yeah, I have anything to add on that subject, as expected. Pop culture, not good at it. I came back to you, so you're talking about that, and I didn't really understand what you were going on about. But never mind. This is a battle for 12th position between Justin Negret and Jacob Sheridan, who must have made a stop to be back all the way back here. Yeah, well, in fact, they both have actually. Only the top 6 have stayed out so far, as well as Gregory Lawrence, who's actually behind a couple of drivers who haven't stopped. Who have stopped yet. This is one of those who haven't, though. Edwin Hendricks still out there at the front of this field. 36 minutes gone. Because of the thin air up here, the fuel consumption is a lot better. So we'll see just how far he can go here. But I'd expect these cars to actually get quite close to the end of the race before they need to stop for just a little bit of fuel at the end, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll just come down to actually just serving the mandatory and getting it done with. But yeah, I'm sorry to do that to you, and unfortunately I had to give what is given to me over the past entire 2 weeks. I mean, even Jim would know it. I've been fed so much American pop culture and expected to give a valid response. And as a South African, I sat there twiddling my thumbs, like, okay, cool, great. Let's move on to the racing action. So I totally understand you as we continue now to watch Mendoza in 5th. He's chasing 9/10 onto the back of Secrest. And unfortunately for Bach, 20 seconds off of Mendoza for the time being. So there's no competition behind. He's got a beautiful running of clean air for the 210 as he fights through the stadium section now. And I wonder when he's going to come to serve that pit stop. A couple of drivers coming out. Well, Smith, no, that's not out of the pit lane. That's out, unfortunately, for Smith down in 8th position. But a couple of other drivers will serve those pit stops, as there's a few who have gone for the overcut strategy.
Yep, indeed. We'll see how far they can go once again in this race. Mendoza not far behind Sechrist, but not going to get much of a slipstream from back there. Brandon Herzing goes straight on, going into the S's, and retires by the looks of things, or at least toes back to pit lane. So not sure what's been going on there, but for Herzing, drops down to 15th, and that might well be a last place finish. Timothy Schaefer still trying to stay out of everybody's way here. Through the S's this time, and comes to a stop as well, and goes back to pit lane. Looks like we might have lost Anthony Wells as well, unfortunately, from this race. Aaron Sanford earlier, who we mentioned in the start of this race, didn't start, so we may well have lost 4 or 5 of our drivers. Now White Smith seems to be retired as well, but still more than 30 drivers out there on the circuit, and this is Michael Anderson not far in front of Basson, who's not far in front of Zach Houston here. still the most congested part of the GT field from second place on back in the Pro class.
Yeah, it seems we've lost a total of 5 cars over all 3 of the classes. Unfortunate to see, but that number is sometimes higher, especially when things don't go right for a driver that you tend to pull out. And I feel like my number one rule, especially in league racing, is no matter where you are, just finish the race, get it done with. You're on live TV, so, make it count currently when you're on Motormouth broadcasting. But Zach Houston down in 4th position. He's currently fighting with Baston after he had that massive spin. It looks odd, but yeah, they both come into the pit lane as Baston was in P number 1. And if you did just join us, he did have a bit of a spin and a tap off with an LMP2, and he's down to 3rd position for the time being. And Blake Ward also coming to get that pit stop in the 3rd position, LMP2. And a bit of a spin there for Nicholas Secrest. I don't know if he made a bit of an error on pit entry.
It looks like he just spun through the final corner maybe normally and thought, well, I've already spun, so I might as well. Was he hit? Or yes, he was. He was trying to take the tighter line on the way in, and he was hit there by Mendoza, I want to say.
Yep,
they were fighting. Yeah, so yes, it was. So it's always the thing here with the pit exit, or pit entry rather, is so close to the exit of the final turn that if the driver behind you doesn't understand that you're coming into pit lane, they're very likely to rear end you, like we've just seen.
Yeah, it's and another phenomenon of like, okay, cool, put your right indicator on, and I'm not even sure if the LMP2s have got indicators, but when you're trying to manage yourself out on a track like this, it's a little bit difficult to try and indicate, especially if you don't have a dedicated bind for it and you're trying to reach over for a keyboard. It does tend to play, and even the matter of the fact is most of the time, especially on a car like the LMP2 with the brakes being such a linear design, you're not going to see the brake lights, sorry, not the physical brakes. You're not going to really see much of that indicator, and when you do see it, it's too late to realize that the driver's pulling into the pit lane. So it is one of those things. This is a really nice livery, I've got to say, from David Volp. That matte blue and gold is a very, very, very nice combo, as well as that BMW up in front of the HP. Good old 2002 looking F1 BMW. Love to see it out on track as they fight. A little bit of a blip there, but looks like we're all good through the coming into stadium section.
Still my favourite, I'll say. 41 minutes complete, and Edwin Hendricks leads in his 2 compatriots into pit lane by the looks of the flags they've given us. Santa Maria and Mendoza both into the pit lane. Schierhauser continues that defence, and Volpe is going to go down the inside. It's going to get awkward between those two through the stadium section now, especially considering they're both on different strategies at the moment. One stopped and one hasn't. Let's see where Hendricks gets to, though. Santa Maria's already on his way. Hendricks having a bit of a longer stop here. The gap, it's gone to over 20 seconds. It's 4 seconds longer than Santa Maria's stop, and oh my goodness, that is a big lead for Aguilar, first of all, but Hendricks drops behind Santa Maria. Blake Ward gets past him as well. Edwin Hendricks has dropped to what will be 4th place. Justin Bock leads for the moment, but he's yet to stop.
From leading ahead of Santa Maria with about 4 seconds, he's now behind of about 8 seconds. So something's definitely gone wrong in that pit stop compared to everyone else. I wonder if he's taken tires, possibly feeding it in that LMP2. That would be the only kind of valid description as to why he was so much longer in that pit lane compared to the other drivers. He's completely lost out down to 5th position. We'll try and have a look for the virtual grand. And he loses it as well.
Oh no, exit, he must be on cold tires.
Yeah, 100% on cold tires and cold brakes. That's not what you want to see for the race leader who's led now for the past 40 minutes. He's lost out now, and down to 5th, he will tumble with quite a gap ahead of him.
We say it time and again in races of this distance, but it's just not worth it. The cold tyres you have to come out on are so difficult to get up to speed. It takes you 2 laps to be properly up to speed. I mean, look at this even now. Maori is right in behind, and surely will get through at some point. Mendoza not that far away either. These are legitimate positions, and yes, the tyre life will be better, but it's only for the last 15 minutes of the race, and he's never going to be able to make up the time that he's lost on cold tyres, even before that spin that we've just seen there. It's a bad strategy call, I'm afraid, for the pole sitter tonight, who's not going to convert and go through with a race victory. So that is a real shame. It will be the first time the pole sitter has not won, because Mauro Santamaria has got 2 poles and 2 wins so far in the LMP2 class. Is he going to have 3 wins? He's not going to have 3 poles, obviously, but is he going to have 3 wins? Alan Aguilar has got nearly 7 seconds to hold on to in the last 17 minutes.
Yeah, it's good to see a little bit of competition towards the start of the front pack of that LMP2. We did see in Laguna Seca, obviously I wasn't here last week, but Laguna Seca, Santa Maria completely dominated that grid. So it is good to see that he's got a bit of a fight going on. and Blake Ward is also 1.6 seconds behind him. So that top 3 could possibly compress if things do change. We've got a bit of a replay. Here's Edwin Hendricks in the pit stop. And was there possibly something that went wrong? Did he change tires?
Yep.
So he goes up on the jacks. So that's the explanation for the total of, well, with the spin, total of about 11-second loss to the lead of that race. So very unfortunate for Hendricks. And like Ewan says, completely a wrong strategic call, especially at a track like this. Those tires remain cold for more than 2 laps. It takes some time to warm up the LMP2. And thankfully, he has been able to keep ahead of Mauri behind, but it's going to be a very, very difficult battle for him to try and fight back. 9 seconds to Ward up in front.
It's either, goodness me, track temperature's quite high, isn't it? 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. About 40 odds, maybe more. Anyway, it's very, very warm, and there's still not warm tyres at the moment here for Hendricks. He's flashing the lights there, Volpe at Hendricks because of that little moment through the S's. Here comes Mendoza on Scott Mauri into turn 11. Are they both going to get through that? Well, Mauri has to back out in the end. Hendricks stays in front. Mauri stays in front, though more to the point. It was either a strategic mistake or indeed just a misclick in terms of setting his box there, because we've all done it. We've accidentally taken tyres and you weren't meant to. It can happen very, very easily. Michael Anderson has dropped back to pit lane in the meantime. Unsure as to quite why, but we'll find out in a moment. It's his first pit stop, but it was a tow back to pit lane, wasn't it? So, and indeed it's taken much longer than it should do. So yeah, there's something going on here for Anderson, which has put him to the back.
I've got to say, Owen, for someone who doesn't quite like the other units of measurements there in the American land, you've got quite an accurate conversion, because it is indeed 40 degrees Celsius out on track on that 100 degrees Fahrenheit conversion. So Anderson seems to have lost it somewhere, and he looks a little bit disappointed. I can't lie to you. He's not the happiest of chaps. I would also be a little bit upset if I had a flashing light. Well, maybe he's out of fuel. It does look like it possibly. He's trying to nurse it with managing the traffic.
It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, we'd need to see from on board, see what the lights are doing on board if to get confirmation. But I think we can see pretty well from here that he's run out of fuel. He's just rolling it back, isn't he? He's not quite going to make it. There he is. Yeah, he's in neutral trying to roll it back. But he can't make it, and cuts his losses there, decides, I might as well not bother trying, because it is slightly uphill at the final corner, to very slightly. It's pretty flat around here, but slightly uphill, and you're never going to make it. So Anderson has to come back to pit lane, and as you say, did look very, very unimpressed with himself there as he was rolling back to pit lane. This is quite a battle for 4th place in a GT3 Pro-Am, and Levrisa and Mulder side by side. Thomas Mulder looking for a way past on his season debut, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Indeed it is. And this is quite a fight at the moment for 4th position.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how it scales as we come to the final 15 minutes of racing here at the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez for the 3rd round here of the Roasted Records Bike Point Championship. And we'll have to see how this goes for the next couple of laps. This is where it starts to get intense. The cars are feeling slightly pressured. Those tires are a bit worn if you haven't changed them, and you do have to start watching out for how the car reacts to certain elements. But here, currently on board with the Mustang and the Lamborghini fighting each other quite hard. It is Thomas Mulder and Brian Levrisa fighting through the stadium and going a little bit risky over those curbs. I'm not going to lie to you. We've seen some events happen over those curbs, and a little bit of a rear end loss there from the likes of Thomas Mulder. He's going to watch out in that big Mustang not to lose it. He's going to have the better straight line speed here against the Lamborghini. Is it going to be enough, though? As he slowly starts to pull it up, you can see the gap is decreasing in the bottom left-hand side. It's down to 4.5 tenths or so. He's looking up on the inside. It's a little bit early to be looking up on the inside. I think he's just looking for breaking point reference. And now, right behind that Lamborghini coming into the first sector, but still up ahead on board with Blake Pietenpol. He's obviously had a bit of a moment early on in this race, but he has managed to recover it up into 4th, side by side now with the likes of Zach Shepard in 5th, and he's trying to hold it around the outside line. It's going to get close, almost bumper to bumper. It's almost a pit maneuver coming into the next corner. They did manage to hold it. It's great racing from the two of them. A little bit of bumper bashing. It's one big car versus a smaller car. The Mustang trying to show its 5.6 liter dominance here, and he's managed to get ahead in front there from Zach Shepard. A little bit of argy-bargy. but he's managed to keep it up in front.
That was a nice fight between the two. It looked like when he was diving into turn 5 that Checkered might just bully Pietenpol off the road, but he did give him some room there on the outside line. But he did also have the track position, and now he's got 4th place as well. So that was a good pass in the end. And it's allowed Lavrisa and Mulder to catch back up again, because they'd just fallen off the back a little bit there in the last couple of moments as the battles ahead had happened. They were having their own a lap or so ago, but now they're back in the group, and Lavrisa not far behind Pietenpol. We've seen time and again the Porsche struggling in a straight line when it's been the trailing car struggling to get through. We'll see whether the Lamborghini can do anything down towards turn number 1 here. Relying mostly on the straight line speed, of course, with the lack of slipstream available. See how close he can get towards turn 1 here.
Yeah, and he is reducing that time slightly. The swerving from Pietenpol up in front has definitely broken the slip straight. You can see at the start of the straight, Lavrisa was decreasing that time, but because of the swerving on the straight, Pietenpol's actually broken the slip, and he's managed to extend it actually by about 1.5 tenths coming onto the exit. He does also have the slipstream up ahead of, I believe, Shepherd, who they just had a bit of a fight with. And so Shepherd's just up in front, and he'll be carrying the overall best speed in the Mustang. And so Pietenpol's just going to sit in that slipstream, trying to keep that Porsche's overall top speed up against the Lamborghini and the Mustang behind. They're also going to start to fight, though, Lavrisa and Mulder. They've been fighting, but they're probably going to be at it again between each other. We'll have to see. 10 minutes left of racing. This is where it gets very inaugural. Turnbull down in 7th currently for the LMP2s. He's on the backside of Mendoza, possibly looking at an overtake in the next coming couple of laps. You can see it down into turn number 1. He is creeping closer. He's actually losing time now on the straight as the LMP2 of Mendoza's got a bit of a slip from the Porsche up in front. And so this is the current fight in the LMP2 class. Who's it going to be? Down to 2 tenths now. And coming into the next corner, he's actually gotten a very poor exit, Mendoza. And Turnbull has got an opportunity now in his LMP2, looking all around in the Dallara. And he's going to have to resort for the outside line.
Give him the inside for turn 5 if he wants to go all the way around there, but he doesn't. And they're parked on the apex. Mendoza does the right thing to make sure that Turnbull can't turn underneath him and get past him on the way towards turn 6. So that's nicely done. And Mendoza keeps 6th place here ahead of Turnbull, who going into this race, by the way, was 4th place in the championship standings. Mendoza all the way down in 12th place, will be moving up if current results hold. He would be moving into the top 10 at least with those results coming here today. He's also allowing Nicholas de Crest to catch up this fight, but there's only 8 minutes to go, so not long at all now for Mendoza to hang on. And at this sort of distance to go, you do start to feel that you can make it from here.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he is going to be able to make it from here. 9 minutes, actually 8.5 minutes left to go. Here's Hendricks up in 4th. And 3.3 seconds to Ward, which is what we're having a bit of a chat about. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch him with the amount of time left. Ward is chasing onto the backside of Santa Maria. That gap is definitely not going to happen, unfortunately, because it's a 7-second gap. And Santa Maria doesn't look like, 2.5 faster lap from Hendricks. So maybe we could see a last lap battle here between Hendricks and Ward. We'll have to give it some time. Ward is a little bit up front there. You can see him tailing towards the top side of the track here. Santa Maria, I don't think he's going to be able to catch Aguilar either. 6.3 seconds. He is dropping it slightly, but 6 seconds in the LMP2. Quite a bit of a distance to try and catch up in the span of 8 minutes.
And towards turn 4 again for this fight. Secret suddenly has doubled his advantage there with that little bit of traffic through the end of the last lap. So Turnbull again applying the pressure to Mendoza, but with no pressure behind him, which will be helpful. Through the hairpin they go, and into the middle sector again with the S's to come. On board with Turnbull here. These LMP2s are fantastic to drive through this section. Just a little bit wide there though. You can see the difference that makes. Look at the exit that Mendoza's able to get, and he's able to pull away a little bit further as a result. Time running out here for Turnbull.
Yeah, he's really going to start putting the foot down to the metal right now. He is slowly catching, or makes another mistake. He's making a couple of errors here towards the inside of the race. I mean, there he just lost about 2 to 3 tenths, and indeed it is overdriving, as our producer says. He is trying everything he can to catch up, but he does have to watch out. Pushing this car, especially the LMP2 with no BS, a little bit too hard. could result in him facing the wrong way, and then he loses yet another position because the crest behind is right on the rear side, 1.3 seconds of a distance. So he does have to watch out from behind. He doesn't have a no consequence race over here. There's definitely be consequences if he makes an error. He has further up in front, Justin Agret, 10th position, further behind. He's chasing down on Holiday, and this could also possibly be a position change before the end of this race.
Yeah, not much time left for those positions to change, but there are a couple of chances up and down the field, as we've seen, especially in LMP2 actually, where there are closer fights than anywhere else. We also, to be fair, have Brian Labruzza and Thomas Mulder still in the GT3 class, but not much more than that. Oh, spun, or a spin rather. That wasn't very good English. Through turn 12. Not sure who that is though in LMP2, but there is. It's Jacob Sheridan, who's had to tow back to pit lane actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, after his latest spin through turn 12. So, not sure, or maybe it wasn't Sheridan. No, it was. He's towed back to pit lane, and that's an unfortunate end to his race now. Basson gets close to Houston as well. We'll try and keep an eye on here, but this is what happened to Jacob Sheridan. Didn't even hit any of the curves, but just spin to the inside.
Yeah, I think after that, losing the car at such a late point of the race, I'm actually not sure why he didn't just decide to flick it around and keep going. The towback is definitely what ruined it there for him. He's got no opportunity now to finish the race, unfortunately. Or maybe he'll be able to get out just before the session ends, but he's lost all the positions he's been working for, unfortunately. And so 5 minutes left on the clock. 32 laps have been completed around the Mexico City circuit over here. It is Paul Basson in third position. He's tailing behind. There's a little bit of traffic, and that's Justin Bach trying to get past in the 776 as Basson chases on the back of Houston, who is now the second position Porsche, with a 17-second gap to Crosby. I guess staying calm and collected for Crosby, like we saw him earlier, did work out for him because he's managed to sit in the front back of the GT3 Pros with absolutely no contention whatsoever. The same goes for Voigt in first position for GT3 Prime, 22 seconds almost ahead of Volp in second. So great work from the GT3 leaders there to extend their lead and have quite a comfortable end to their race.
Well, absolutely. Very late in the day now, as Paul Basson, the previous race leader here in the GT3 Pro class, tries to retake the position from already a race winner this season, Zach Houston. So he won 1-1, only one appeared at though. Michael Anton won the other race at Long Beach last week, despite his own incidents fairly late on in that race. It's like Crosby could become the third different race winner in 3 races. See who takes the championship lead though, because Anderson's quite a long way down. Schildhauer only just in front of him, and it's all going to be very close. Schildhauer, Anderson, Crosby, Houston, to a lesser extent Basson, are all going to be very, very close to each other after just 3 rounds of the championship. But it is very, very early on in the season, and it feels like next week is really sort of a big week, because it really gets us into the meat of the season. I feel this still feels like early season to me, but we've got a 90-minute race at Road America coming up next week, as Dax Brown says, a brief off-track excursion there.
Yeah, I've got to say, Road America, yet another great track for multi-class racing, and in the GT3s, we've seen a bit of it recently, and it's been quite good to us. So let's hope it's good to us again here at White Point. But now it's 3 minutes left on the clock. Roderick Mendoza down in 6th position. He's got pressure again from behind of Turnbull in 7th position, and with the traffic management, this could be a little bit dangerous for him. Turnbull getting slightly of a negative impact there. He is losing out with the big Acura in the way for the time being. But what can Roderick Mendoza do? He's going to have to pull out all the defensive cards. He had to stay well in that lead. And there's David Turnbull just a bit further behind in the Inspire Net car number that he's racing in, 702 for the Dallara, as he continues to go around in 7th. The traffic management has been successful for the 2 of them. There's another, I believe that's Secrest in 8th, who's still trying to navigate the traffic behind, and he's currently losing quite a lot of time there to Turnbull as he's trying to get past the Acura just behind the fighting pack here. But about 2 minutes left of racing. We'll probably have 1 or 2 more laps left to go, depending on where Aguilar is out on track. And I've got to say, Santa Maria has pulled that gap down quite a lot, 4 seconds of a gap. If he had about maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 more laps, he could have been in fighting contention here. Yeah,
unfortunately, he's only got 2 laps left here. As you see, Hendricks in 4th position, trying to maybe rescue a podium later on here. Blake Ward is just up in front. I mean, you can only imagine how Hendricks would be feeling at the end of this race, to be honest. Pole sitter earlier, decided to take the tyres earlier as well. Now those tyres in this fight are going to pay off, but if you look at the bigger picture, in terms of the time lost earlier, it hasn't paid off at all. And he'll go away and be thinking about this as perhaps a big missed opportunity here, because don't forget, when he came into the pit lane, he was leading as well. It wasn't just the pole lap that he did well. He executed the first 40 minutes of the race pretty well as well.
Someone spun. Someone spun again. That's, I believe that's Lawrence, Gregory Lawrence, who's gone off the track. Yeah, I think it's the red LMP2. I saw a glimpse of him. We'll probably get a replay of it. Is it Greg Lawrence or is it... Oh, no, it's Livrisa. My apologies. It looked like an LMP2. So similar livery, and that's the Vodafone Deepwater Racing car, and that was against Mulder. Just a little bit of an inside dive from the Mustang, and not successful. Apologies about that call. It was indeed Livrisa in the Lamborghini.
On to the final lap then for the leaders. Hendricks is trying to get his podium back here at the expense of Ward. It's going to be a fight between these two to the end as the overall leaders get over the line with 30 seconds left. 3 seconds in hand for Aguilar to win his first race of the season and start to just eat into Santa Maria's championship lead, because that's 35 points already between the two of them after just 2 rounds. Over the line for these two as well. Hendricks will be in the slipstream. He's on the newer tyres, don't forget, as well, as they come towards turn 1 for the final time in this race, using what slipstream there is at this venue. On towards turn 1, he's getting closer. As he gets closer, he gets faster, and he's got a chance now. Inside line, late braking required from Hendricks, but he can do it on the newer tyres. Ward round the outside holds on, but this still got a long way to go, this battle.
Yeah, 1 lap essentially left to go, depending on where Aguilar sits, but he's got the pressure tires side by side now. It's a little bit of contact. That could have been a pit maneuver. We hope we don't see it again, because it looks like Ward is not wanting to give this position up. The number 82 wanting to stay ahead of the number 31, but it looks like he's going to be able to hold it. Edward Hendricks comes up onto the inside line now, and he's going to push Ward slightly off the track here. What is going to happen to these two drivers? They're going side by side. It's 2 blue LMP2s trying to prove which tone of blue is better as they come into the next couple of corners. It is still side by side on the chase towards the stadium section. Now through the S's, the left, the right flicking. Who's gonna come out on top here? It is Hendricks behind Ward, and this is going to be very, very intense in terms of where they finish, especially in terms of where Aguilar sits out on track. He's currently in first, about to round into that final corner.
Here he comes, Alan Aguilar. For the first time this season, he's going to take victory in the Roasted Record Sportscar Challenge here by Bike Point Racing from Mexico City. It's victory from Alan Aguilar. 3 seconds in front of Mauro Santa Maria. The difference between them in qualifying was the difference it turned out in the race as well. There's some story to be told here between Hendricks and Ward, because Hendricks is 10 seconds behind suddenly. I think they may have made contact in towards turn number 12. Francis Crosby is not too far away from the finish line either. It's going to be a first race victory in GT3 Pro for Crosby. 3 different winners in 3 rounds for our second category. And a smile over the line for Crosby. He'll be very pleased with that, and rightfully so as well. As will John Voigt in the background, who gets his second win of the season in only a second appearance. So 2 out of 2 you can say from John Voigt. And comfortable it was as well in the end, finishing only 5 seconds off of Crosby, who wins overall in GT3. Voigt beating every other driver in GT3 apart from Crosby. This is what happened to Hendricks. Oh, he dived down the inside late, and Ward turned in. Hendricks goes into a spin, and those two may argue about that at the end of the day.
Yeah, fortunately, there won't be too much of an aggression part there, because once again, nothing really happened there. To the likes of Blake Ward. He kind of got a bit of a tap and then just continued going. Hendricks actually just lost out majorly on his own part. That's a 10-second loss. And thankfully, he didn't lose out to the driver behind, but he did completely lose out for the battle for third there. And that is exactly how the racing goes. And our racing is officially concluded. Arajo is still coming around the track in 7th for the GT3 Pros. But other than that, every single driver has officially finished here for round number 3 of the championship. And boy, oh boy, did things change up this time. Our normal championship leader for the LMP2s didn't get to come across the line in first. A new finisher for the GT3 Pros in P1. This is great stuff to see when we have so much differentiation each round. Yeah,
absolutely. Here are the race results, though. It's This is a GT3 Pro, and we'll go from the bottom to the top. John Voigt winning in the GT3 Pro-Am class ahead of David Volk by about 20 seconds nearly in the end. John Bostwick finishing on the podium again for the second week in a row with Zach Shepard, Thomas Mulder running out the top 5. Blake Pietenpol in sixth for Brian Lavrosa, who may be a bit aggrieved about that incident with Mulder towards the end. Then it was Jason Holland, Jordan Cox and Jeremiah Cohn running out the top 10. Martin Lipsky didn't get to the finish of that race, neither did Anthony Wells, Timothy Chafer and Aaron Sanford didn't start the race. In GT3 Pro, it was Francis Crosby who takes his first win of the season in front of Zach Houston, just hanging on from Paul Basson in the end. Jordan Butler and Austin Schulhauer round out the top 5, with Michael Anderson probably holding on to the championship lead, but maybe not. It's going to be very close. Lorenzo there as well, with White Smith, the only retirement in GT3 Pro. And then in LMP2, it's Alan Aguilar who wins by 3 seconds in front of Mauro Santamaria, who doesn't win for the first time this season. Blake Ward holds off Edwin Hendricks at the end, with Scott Murray rounding out the top 5. Roderick Mendoza held off David Turnbull, as we saw there as well, with Nicholas Sicret kept at bay from those two towards the end as well. Justin the Great Harrison Holiday round at the top 10 with Justin Bock and Dax Brown, the last drivers on the lead lap. Gregory Rance was 1 lap down. Jacob Sheridan retired very late, and Brandon Herzing a little bit earlier in that race. Let's have a chat then, shall we, to our race winner tonight, Alan Aguilar, who joins us now. Alan, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on winning tonight from Mexico City. 3 seconds your gap at the line, but how important was it for you to get the race win here today, with Mauro already getting 2 wins under his belt and everybody else left chasing? How important was it to win tonight?
It was important to close that gap between me and Mauro. Once I had the lead, I just managed the gap, managed my tires, made sure not to in it at the last second.
Oh yeah, how surprised were you to get the lead though? Because it was Hendricks who took tyres during that pit stop. It meant you had a 5 second shorter pit stop and came out a long way in front of him. How surprised were you in that moment?
Not very surprised. Once I knew I couldn't pass him at the start of the race, I decided to pit early, not take tires, and go for an undercut.
And in the end, you were, along with the majority of us, not taking tyres in the race. What are you expecting from the rest of the season? There's a long ways to go this season, but are you targeting the title overall?
That's always a goal, but these first 3 tracks were my strongest, so I expect to drop down a bit from here on.
We'll see how it goes on from here. But thanks for chatting to us tonight, Alan. Congratulations on taking the race win tonight as well.
Thank you. Keep up the great broadcast.
Thanks very much, Alan Aguilar, who wins tonight at Mexico in the 3rd round of the Roasted Record Sportscar Challenge here tonight. Let's have a chat to Francis Crosby, who joins us now as well from GT3 Pro. Francis, welcome in. Congratulations on winning in GT3 Pro here tonight, in the end gaining the 1 position over Paul Basson to take the victory. But talk us through the battle with Paul while it lasted there. It looked like you were having fun anyway when we were seeing you on camera there. It looked like you were having a good fight with him.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I get more enjoyment of actually having to battle with people than, just gaining a position and just, staying ahead of people. I find it much more fun to have to actually race side by side with people and try to get something out of it, for the more it gives you more of a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What have you made of this season so far in GT3 Pro in that respect then? Because you're the 3rd different winner in 3 races now, and the championship's unbelievably close. How have you sort of seen the opening rounds of this championship?
So I started off in a different car and I took the 20-point champ hit, to be honest. I decided to try something different this season, Ferrari, but it wasn't working for me. So I went back to my old trusty AMG, and it's paying dividends now, obviously. It just works for me. But we take a 20-point hit in our rules for that, for, switching a car. So, I mean, but the first 2 rounds either way, Laguna was never my track to begin with, and Long Beach was just tough. So, yeah, I'm happy. It's been a good night.
Well, congratulations on returning to the Mercedes, returning to the top step, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks very much. That's Francis Crosby, who wins here tonight in GT3 Pro. Not that far in front of the Pro-Am winner, John Voigt, once again. John, welcome in. Congratulations on winning here tonight in the GT3 Pro-Am class. Not far behind the overall GT3 winner of Francis Crosby we just talked to there. How did you find that race in the end, winning by 25 seconds or so? How was it out there for you today?
Yeah, I was definitely trying to keep up with Francis at the end there. I mean, that was a phenomenal race. I know that traffic management, I thought I would see that in Long Beach. And for some reason in this track, it really hit and reminded me what multi-class racing is about. And, letting P2s by in some of the areas and other times just trying to stick my nose in and hold it. And I think ultimately, trying to keep that distance of P1 in check. It just some of the traffic and a lot of LMP2s. I know I didn't deal with a lot of LMP2s until after the pit, but before that, some of the lapped cars, even within my own class, it was a little disappointing to see because I got held up, I think, on some of the spins that some of the lap cars had. But so, anyways, it was a lot of fun with this.
Jim behind the cameras, who you just heard from there, wants to. I mean, I'm so too British for this question. I don't really understand what you're talking about, but he wants to ask about the Penn State livery you've got on the Acura. Tell us a little bit about that. If there's a story behind it.
Yeah, so originally this was going to be used to race in the Collegiate iRacing League. Unfortunately, I think this was last season that they ran that I had to have surgery and I wasn't able to run it, but this was going to be the livery that I used in that series. And it actually was made by our own Cole Malley from the Wednesday League. So it's really cool that I'm able to race it, and I actually found someone else made some paints to go with the suits and the helmets, and so trying to match it all up and show some school spirit with that was really cool.
Jim's asking whether you're a student there as well.
I graduated 2 years ago in the summer, so it is definitely something that I know with the CIL they do students and alumni, and definitely a recent grad, and it's really cool to be able to show that off. And I know there's some others in the league, I believe, that had some school liveries, so it's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, well done for tonight once again and getting on the top step here from Mexico. And thanks for coming to have a chat with us at the end as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much. That is John Voigt, who wins here tonight in GT3 Pro-Am. That just about does it from us. Tristan, it was a good round of this championship, I feel. But they all have been so far. Multi-class racing always delivering. As I say, this still feels like the early part of the season to me. But next week is Road America. It's the first 90-minute race. And that's when we're, in my opinion, getting really into the meat of the season from that point onwards. But we've had 3 good races to start off with anyway in this early phase.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's still so much more to come in the season. Like you mentioned, we are still in the honeymoon phase of this Bite Point Racing sports car championship, and we've got so much more coming for all of you watching from home. And like we mentioned, a 1.5 hour race next week. It's going to be very interesting to see the multi-class centered around track there. But yeah, that is like Ewan says, that is officially it for the events of today. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see all the events and stuff next week as we head to Road America.
Yeah, absolutely. 90 minutes from Road America in 1 week's time. We'll be live same time, same place on the Motormouth Broadcasting YouTube channel with that race. So I hope that you will join us for that. For now, though, I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Tristan Herbst with Jim Cunningham behind the cameras of this broadcast here tonight. Until we see you in 7 days from Road America, it's goodbye for now.